Apple M1 Macs, which contain the new generation Apple designed SoC chips, have been making splashes in the tech community. They have been praised to the moon and back. They're faster, more battery efficient, run quiet and cool, and sometimes they're even cheaper than PC desktops. So, does it still make sense to buy a PC? I spoke with Mike Volfman from Amoeba Networks, who's a business technology consultant, to see what the truth is. And the truth might surprise you. This video contains 3 sections, and I don't want to waste your time, so that's why I've included shortcuts to the 3 sections down in the description below. The first section gives some background about the M1s and how it compares to PCs. The second section is a little bit more technical and describes single versus multi-core in relation to comparisons. The third section is the meat and heart of this video. Does it make sense to get a PC in this day and age? Without further ado, here's Mike Volfman. Right. So now that we're talking about Macs, I don't know if you saw a video of Snazzy Labs. They compared a $700 Mac Mini to a $1,000 DIY PC.
It's an 8-core 3.6 gigahertz Ryzen 4000 chip with an 8-core Vega GPU on board.
And they kind of compare this, performance, and the Mac like really blew the PC out of the water. Premiere, the Mac Mini beat the PC. Cinebench R23 in single core, it barely beat the Windows, but it really beat the Windows in multi-core. The Mac destroyed the PC in Geekbench and Unigine Heaven. So let me ask you, in single core versus multi-core, is there a difference between like what should I expect when a Mac is more powerful in either category?
Yeah, so in single core, it really depends on what kind of test you're running. For single core, it's really about raw power. So a lot of applications are multi-core now, so you don't have to worry about it. But for single core, it's just how many megahertz you can get, how many gigahertz you can get. There's a lot more to it though. There's the cooling aspect, there's the architecture. It's really hard. It's hard to compare single core of one CPU to another, just because so much of it goes into it. It's not like a one point in space thing.
Right. So you can't judge a single core score really with performance. Like for example, the PC desktop I have has a lower single core performance than the Mac Mini. And like I understand like for single core, maybe it could be things like, browsing the web, checking your email. Supposedly you can't really say that my Mac is slower or faster than.
You really can't do that anymore. 15, 20 years ago, everything was single core. You have a CPU, it's one core. It's not multi-threaded because it's the year 2000 and it's an 800 megahertz Pentium 3. So, and it's running at that clock, and there's no speed stuff. Like none of that exists. So, back then, 20 years ago, you could easily compare single core performance between 2 CPUs and really get useful numbers. Now there are just so many other variables that you really shouldn't be comparing single core performance between 2 CPUs because there's 6 other things to consider.
What about multi-core? Is that a better yardstick?
It can be, yeah. Even with multi-core though, you have to consider the architecture and the cooling. You have to consider how many cores you have, because things like when you're running Chrome is just not one process. Chrome runs a whole lot of stuff in the background. So you want a lot of cores. The more cores you can have, the better for what you do. And just regular web browsing, because everything is web-based now. So you can have your CRM in one page. You can have a video playing in another page. You have all these different tabs, and all of them require processing.
We do kind of know that the Mac Mini beat the PC. Even though the PC was $300 more, does it still make sense to get a PC desktop, let's say, in this situation? Like when we have something like the Mac, Apple Silicon M1 Mac,
Yeah.
available out there for only $700.
There are still a lot of reasons to get a PC, and I touched on some of them earlier. If you're on a budget, you get a PC. If you want something that you can tinker with, you get a PC. If you want to build it yourself, you get a PC. If you want to run Windows 10, you get a PC. If you really hate Mac OS X, you get a PC. If you don't like Apple, you get a PC. Now, specifically for the M1, there's still certain things that don't run in the M1. So you can't have Boot Camp yet. You can't run Windows 10 yet. You can run Parallels, but it's not the same thing. Certain software, even on Mac OS X, is still not compatible. So recently I ran into an issue where a customer bought a Mac M1. They didn't tell us they bought it. They just bought it. We helped them configure it, and then we tried to install Google File Stream, which is required to access their shared Google documents within the company. And as we're trying to install Google File Stream, it doesn't work. And it turns out Google has not yet created a compatible package of the file stream software that's compatible with the M1. So we couldn't do it. They have to wait until May.
Yeah, so it seems like you're saying that Mac M1s, M1 Max, they seem to be still needing to, test out the kinks, and they're still a little bit behind in updating, maybe Intel-based Mac software. When would you recommend someone if they wanted to buy an M1 Mac?
Yeah, I would definitely wait until late this year, maybe early next year. If you're just buying it for home, just for basic use, and you want something that's lightweight, that's fast, that's the latest and greatest, then yeah, definitely get like the new MacBook Air with the M1. And if you love OS X and you don't care about a few things here and there possibly not working yet, it's a great purchase. If you're a business user, do not buy an M1 right now, because who knows what will happen. So I don't think it's a mature platform yet for business.
Right. That's very important. So basically what you're saying is for personal use, you can buy it now, but maybe for business use, maybe wait a little bit, to the end of the year or beginning of next year.
Yeah, I manage close to 500 endpoints. I wouldn't tell any of them to just go out and get an M1 Mac. I'm not prepared to run into these issues where they need software and I can't install it for them because it's not compatible. Like I don't want that to happen.
Right.
That's not a risk that I'm willing to take with anyone.
Yeah, and I definitely did notice installing certain software were not compatible with the M1. And certain monitors were not compatible with the M1.
Yeah.
Some older Dell.
eGPU also. I don't believe eGPUs work with M1. So there's a big list of stuff. And if you're a power user or business user or anything like that, you're going to run into problems. You're going to be upset.
Thank you for so much for sharing your insight. Can you?
Yeah, you're welcome.
If people want to reach you, if people want to, check out your services, how can they find out more about you?
Sure, yeah. So check out amoebanetworks.com. We provide managed services to small, medium businesses. Email me, mike@amoebanetworks.com or info@amoebanetworks.com. Ask me anything. I'm always happy to chat about technology things.
All right, there we have it. Mike Volfman with Amoeba Networks, first guest on SkyTech One. Thank you so much, Mike.
You're welcome, Victor. Take care.
So what do you think? Do you think Mike is right? Are you getting a Mac or PC? What are you thinking about it? Let me know in the comments section below. I'll be working on a new video about my predictions in terms of pricing for the new M1 Macs that are coming out later this year and early next year, including the 16-inch MacBook Pro and the iMacs. Be sure to subscribe and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss out on my videos. With that, this is Victor Chu with SkyTech One, over and out.